Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode or another podcast at the Wine Archive. Next to me today is Matthieu Bordes, General Manager and Winemaker at Lagrange. Matthieu, give us a small introduction of Lagrange.
So welcome to everyone. Good to see you again, Yannick.
It's been a while.
Lagrange is a third classified grove located in Saint-Julien appellation. We are in one single block, 118 hectares, 103 plots, which has belonged to the chateau for more than 400 years, which made something unique in the world of the classified grove in Bordeaux. Means that in 1855, when we were classified third, all the plots belongs to the chateau already. So I'm the lucky winemaker who managed this estate with my team and helped by 55 people who were permanently with us. And we are also close to the owner, and the owner owned the chateau in 1983, the family group Suntory, and give us all the keys, all the opportunity to produce and to have only one quest, producing the best wine ever at Lagrange.
Yeah, you're in a very good position.
Yeah, it started a long time ago, and when Keizo Saji, the son of the founder of Suntory, purchased the estate, he knew already the big potential of the chateaus, sure. Invested a lot, and gives to Marcel Ducasse, the previous general manager, this goal. So immediately they created Les Fiefs de Lagrange, the second label, which represents generally 60-70% of the production, with high quality grapes, all vines too, 30 years old on average, and immediately it was a big success in France, but also all over the world for this second label, and allowed us to reduce the quantity of Grand Vin and keep only the best plots to produce the best Lagrange as we can. So
which makes the quality rise in a big format.
As I'm used to say, it's one of the key points to be able to be very consistent and having no pressure about on shoulder, about making 90-80% of Grand Vin to earn money. It's not a question of money at Lagrange, it's just a question of quality.
Okay. It's in a very luxury position, but now you're really emphasizing on the second label. So what are your opinion on that?
So, you know, in the 80s, early 80s, not so many chateaus produced a second label. Lagrange was one of the first. But at that time, the techniques was not so helpful compared to nowadays. So, doing the choice not producing a second label now, why not? If you look back to the past, the quality was lower compared to nowadays. Bordeaux have never produced so good wine over the last 10 years compared to nowadays they produce so much good wines compared to 20, 30, 40 years ago. Mm-hmm. So why not? But the competition between all of us is quite strong, and the goal is to make most of the time the best wine. And if you maintain your vineyard in a good position, means that you have to pull out and replant, because after 60, 70 years, normally you have to pull out Cabernet Sauvignon or Merlot. You need to replace the vine, and young vines, everybody knows that young vines, less than 7, 8, 10, 12 years old, depending on the level of quality of each chateau wants to have, never reach the same level of all vines. Sure. So by putting them in the Grand Vin, you reduce, to my mind, the quality. So having a second label, it's also a guarantee to make a better Grand Vin.
Yeah, that's precise what I mean. Because I also told in another podcast with Philippe that when I started buying, it was the second labels. Because it was not a long time ago. I think it was 2009 or 2010 were my first purchases. Yeah, second labels were at that time were booming, and everybody was like, okay, should I purchase? Should I purchase not? Because it had that hard struggle to have that label as a second wine, as not a good quality. But now it's just great, amazing. Yeah. It's amazing what we taste sometimes.
And it's a nice entry to the world of the Grand Vin too, because the winemaking philosophy is close to be the same. Nowadays, some serious second label could have the same quality as the first label was 30 years ago.
Yeah, that's
40
crazy.
years ago.
That's crazy.
With a fairest price.
Yeah, yeah, that's also very important. The price is so intriguing. So we have something before us in our glass.
We have the new vintage, the new baby 2021.
2021. It will be released in a couple of months.
Exactly. We will present at the end of April to the importers, the négociants, the other chateaus too, the journalists.
Yeah, the Primeurs season.
Yes, the Primeurs week, exactly, which lasts at Lagrange this year. 2021 was really challenging. Yeah? We were very lucky over the last, I would say, 10 years, since 2009. Only the vintage 2013 was more weak, if I could say weak. I would say more Burgundy style.
Yeah, it's...
And 2021 was cool. It was a cool year. We have a forecast station, a weather station on the estate since 1996. So we have all the data, and the average of the vintage 2021, the average of temperature is below the average of the last 25 years. So it's a little bit more challenging, but it's also very interesting to have cool temperature, because you know that having cool temperature makes some the wines are more harmonious, and you need to have a cool night. You need to have not too hot day, because you change also the style of the wine, and to keep the freshness. Such a vintage also could be interesting, but it's more challenging in the vineyard. Okay. We had some rainfall, a lot in the month of June, which makes things very difficult. We manage in the estate since 2008 several hectares in organic way of farming and biodynamic too. In 2021, we had a 32 hectares conducted in biodynamic and organic way of farming, and it was really difficult. We lost a little bit production due to the Merlot pressure, the mildew pressure, sorry. In the end, we reached 35 hectoliters per hectare on average. It's something lower compared to the average of the last 20 years, which is close to 40 hectoliters. But we have in our vine a high density plantation from 8,000 to 10,000 vine per hectare. So it means that you have 3-4 bunches per vine only. And even if you have not really sunny weather conditions, you can manage by de-leafing, by reducing the crop, you can reach a good maturity. But you have to take risk. Yeah.
But you took some, eh?
And we took some as usual, because it's one of the key points. I'm used to say that the first point to produce Grand Vin is the terroir, but second point is the way you manage the growing season to be able to wait if it's necessary for the harvest time. And in this vintage, we had generally most of the Bordeaux wineries started on the 27th of September with the Merlot, but I'd never seen that before. I'm used to work for 25 years in Bordeaux. The weather forecast on the Saturday, on the Sunday, the 3rd of October was really bad, 40 millimeters. And you know, 40 millimeters, even if you have finished your Merlot, or close to finish your Merlot, the cab on a gravelly soil need to ripe a little bit more, as you know. And having such a quantity of rainfall gives to you a bad start, because the roots can absorb a lot of quantity of water, size of berries increase, and you need to wait more to have a sort of a depression of the weight of the berries and reach a better concentration. Fortunately, I said fortunately, we decided not to pick before, not to rush, and we had only 8 millimeters of rainfall on the Sunday 3rd. So everybody smiled.
Yeah.
Technical team. On Monday the 4th, we finished the Merlot and start to pick some plots of Cabernet, but we were not in a hurry. We had 85 hectares outside. Even on the first day, the 7th, we had 35 hectares, 50 hectares outside, not picked yet. And you know that at Lagrange, I have 25 hectares of Cabernet in the blend, because we used to produce 30–40% maximum. It's 39% of Grand Vin in 2021. So in fact, all my Cabernet were outside, and I picked them between the 7th of October until the 12th. In the end, the berry weight dropped drastically, 30% less. So you improve the concentration. And the result is funny, because when we do the blend in January, it was last January, 3 months after the harvest, we taste all blind. So the whole plots, we have 102 vats for 103 plots, and the whole plots are tasted blind, and we focus just on quality. And in the end, after making the blend, the final result was 84 Cabernet Sauvignon. It's the record. We never reached that before.
It's extremely high.
Yeah.
But that's big. A big part is the risk that you took by waiting extra few days. Wow.
I'm sure that we succeeded to reach a high quality of cab, and finally you can find the result in the blend. Alors, so I was a little bit scared too, because as I told you, the weather condition was not so ripe as 19 or 18. So how they look like, and after a few months, I'm so surprised about the smoothness of such a wine. 20 years ago, certainly with such a level of cab, the wine could have been undrinkable during the next 10 years. Now you can start to enjoy it. Alors, most of the people told me that nowadays you can drink the wine younger, so it means that the wine couldn't age for a while. I would say it's wrong, because we reach a quantity of tannins, we reach a level of maturity nowadays, which makes the tannins rounder, which makes the wine more drinkable in its youth. Yeah. And we have now a very large window of tasting of our wines. You can enjoy after 2, 4, 3, 5 years, and you can keep it also for decades, 20s, 30s.
But you taste it, so the tannins are for sure presentable, but just elegant. It's not harsh tannins.
It's not harsh at all. It's smooth, it's silky, nice fresh notes, no vegetal aromas. 20 years ago with such vintage, maybe, or 30 years ago, you could have some vegetal notes. Absolutely not. You have cherry, you have minty notes, you have a licorice, blackcurrant.
Yeah, it's very pure as well.
Yeah.
Very pure in flavor.
The oak is really well integrated.
Yeah, but that's why I wanted to go to. For me, the interesting thing is there is extremely high balance between everything. And that was, I was really scared this vintage for balance in every chateau. Yeah. Why? I do not hate them, but you know, some critics, some journalists, they write things in general, Bordeaux in general, and then that is it's very hard for a chateau to convince people after such notes to no, first taste our wine and make your own opinion.
Exactly.
I'm really surprised with the 2021 vintages that I already tasted, and I see everywhere I see balance. And that's the number one thing that everybody told the wine lovers, the critics and stuff. Like, the one thing that we cannot expect in 2021 is balance at Bordeaux.
Exactly. I think that most of the winemaker, and especially the new generation, understand plenty of things nowadays. 20 years ago, 15 years ago, people want to extract a lot. Nowadays, they understand that balance is more important. Yeah. So you don't need to extract something that you don't have in the grapes. And when it's ripe, the extraction is so easy to do. Yeah. So keeping the harmony is the key point. And at Lagrange, we always have this same philosophy, try to make the well-balanced wine. And it's usually a guarantee for a long cellar aging, and always have pleasure when you drink wine.
For sure. We talked about the red wine, the second wine, Le Fief, but also you have a white wine.
Yeah.
Personally, one of my favorite white wines from Bordeaux. Everything combined, value for money is there, freshness, fruity, not that dry. For me, it's a perfect. You know, I mentioned your white wine to a friend, and now he's drinking it on a wedding. So a lot of people were surprised. Maybe you can tell something a little bit about the white wine.
Yes, the white is a long history at Lagrange. It started long time ago. Then, you know, it was much more for the auto consumption, for the self-consumption on the estate. But finally, Marcel Ducasse, with the agreement of the owner, because the owner is a Japanese family, decided to replant some white grapes at Lagrange in 1995. So regraft, exactly. It was regraft Cabernet Sauvignon plots. Oh. And they produced 4 hectares. They had 4 hectares of white with Sauvignon white, Sauvignon gris, and Sémillon, the specific grape variety from Bordeaux. And since 1996, we produce confidential wine, 25,000 bottles only, which is vinified and aged in almost the same way as Burgundy did a long time ago. But with the specificity of the French, of the Bordeaux grape varieties. And it's a wine that you ferment in oak, aged for 6 months, and we pay a lot of attention of the oaky notes. We don't want to have too oaky notes. It's a special toast. The goal is to have a lot of freshness, smooth in the palate, nice freshness, lively acidity. If you don't have enough acidity, the wine is boring and you can't enjoy, and it's not lively. And it's a wine that 75% of the production is sold to Japan.
So it's less quantity in Europe?
Yes, less quantity in Europe, but it's like that for more than 25 years. Yeah. Nowadays, I have a little bit more surface, so I'm able to keep 1,000 bottles at the chateau and give the opportunity to taste the white when you come and visit us, or if we organize wine dinner or tasting all over the world. Generally, nowadays, we bring bottles of white too. Les Arômes de Lagrange is the name. Les Arômes means the calla lily, the flower we have all around the lake in front of the chateau, the famous white flower.
So yeah, you know that we did a vertical tasting with with all the whites. Which vintages? 17, 18, 19? Or 18, 19, 20? I think 18, 19, 20 that we tasted.
Yes, we did 18, 19.
But it was, every bottle was different, and every vintage had its own style. It was a big surprise for me, because normally you would say between white wines in Bordeaux there will be not that much of a difference. But this one was...
Yes, and especially the vintage 2018, which in my memory was a really hot vintage.
Very tropical fruits, I think.
Yes, and the plots we have are located in a very cool place. So it's very helpful on such vintage to keep some freshness. And 2019 is not heavy. It's a lively wine.
Yeah, that was it's just a fun wine.
And with the blend, because Bordeaux is so well known for blending wine, not only white but also red, as you know. It's interesting to have this blend. In 2019, for the white, for example, I decided not to put the Sauvignon Gris in the blend to keep more liveliness and more freshness. So it's a blend with only Sauvignon white and Sémillon. So having so much different grape variety helps. It's also very helpful to combine and make the wine depending on the weather conditions and the ones you want to have. I would like to thank you, Yannick, because the white, we don't keep a lot of stocks, and usually after 5-6 years, we didn't have enough bottle. And I remember that you came once with blind bottle, and we were all surprised around the table and mentioned some nice old Pessac-Léognan, or some people said Burgundy from Chardonnay from Montrachet, or another appellation. And finally it was Les Arômes de Lagrange 1998, a wine which was 25 years old.
Crazy, huh?
and it was really crazy. And I never drink such a whole bottle of Les Arômes, and it was very surprising. So until that time, I'm used to say that Les Arômes could not age so long, and it's not the idea. And the idea is to enjoy this wine during the first 5-6 years. But now I'm more temperated about this window of tasting. I say sometimes you could have luck and you can enjoy this wine after 10 or 15 or 20 years.
Yeah, I remember that we tasted at your place, the 98. That was truly amazing. Yeah. I did not know. I was like, okay, it's going to be 50-50, even if it's still drinkable, but oh my God.
Yes, it was really good.
So we also have a review on the Wine Archive from the 98. It was also, it was a second bottle that we've tasted. I'm not going to lie, the first one was better, but this one was still quality higher than we expected.
Even they had the same storage conditions.
Same storage conditions.
You know, the impact of the cork, not it's because the wine was cork, just the density of the cork makes transfer between outside and inside the bottle different. Yeah. So some wines could age faster compared to the others. And as you said, the second bottle was a little bit less interesting compared to the first one.
And also, you know in general that I'm a big Lagrange lover, and it's not that because we have a good relationship. It's been for a long time that I'm a Lagrange lover, but Lagrange, Lefebvre, and Les Arômes, for me it's an easy win for blind tastings. Yeah. So if I take all of those to a blind tasting, it depends on which is the team. But if someone says let's go a team white Bordeaux, it's like okay, yes, and then we compare, and then at the end we reveal the bottles, and of course we need to talk about pricing afterwards. That's
in the end.
And then everybody's like, oh Yannick, where did you buy it? Yeah, it's always the same. So I think it's the biggest compliment that someone can give.
You know, when I was hired 15 years ago, I had an interview and the owners asked me, for you, what is Lagrange? What kind of idea about Lagrange do you have? And I said, you know, when I was a student, when I studied enology, the first classified growth I purchased was Lagrange because I consider it was the fairest value for quality and money. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. A lot of people have the same opinion. So I know a chateau or a manager has to choose to every year make new innovations or to reinvent some things or make big, investments. Do people can expect a little bit of new innovations for Château Lagrange in the future?
We have started a long time ago when they purchased the chateau to renovate everything from the vineyard to the cellar, the vat room, and really a strong investment 40 years ago. Then 15 years ago when I arrived, we changed a part of the vat room by having plot selection, means one plot, one vat. Really helpful. All the investment we did over the last 40 years was for the quality. Mm-hmm. We were the first estate to try in 2009 optical scanner to be able to sort more efficiently. Then we have 2 optical scanners immediately the year after. And we continue in our quest to work with the technical department. I have also hired a guy who is in charge of the development and research. We try to try everything. We test so many techniques. The goal is to find the best tools to be able to produce the best wine. So it's a sort of virtual circle that we, year after year, we continue to search and to improve the quality. The things we think about the following years is to maintain this permanent research, mm-hmm. but we included more. We started a long time ago, but now the opinion, the world, and the customers take care about environment more. So even we started a long time ago not to use herbicide, insecticide, and blah blah blah, etc., etc. We improve everything in its way. So when we think about something, we think about first environment and all the things you have in your wine. It's, to my mind, one of the next step for Bordeaux, being able to produce grand vin, and as my owner said, is the tagline of Suntory, living in harmony between human and nature.
Yeah,
that's the key.
You respect the nature. That's the future where you're heading. Yeah, for sure. It's important. More and more people.
And the knowledge. If you speak only about the quality, is the knowledge about your vineyard, the knowledge about your team. Every year you learn more about your estate, and you are, unfortunately, we have one harvest a year.
So you have to be patient.
You have to be patient, and you don't need to fail.
Yeah.
But with my team, we are 5 enologists on the estate. So it's one of the, I would say not the best team, but in a technical way, when we speak all together, we speak the same language, and we change a lot, and the goal is to perform, and I think we are close to the perfection year after year. And after every vintage with my team, at the end of the harvest, we look at each other, spend 10 minutes and say, okay, did we fail once this year or once during the harvest? And so far, over the last 7 years, it never happened. Everybody say, no, we did the maximum we could.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think your owners can be very proud and be very happy with the team. Wow.
I hope. I hope.
For sure.
But we do as we were the owner.
Yeah. Yes, of course. But it says a lot about you as a person as well. That I think it's not easy to be a manager about over 55 people, and you produce wine that's going to be loved worldwide. I think you sometimes get the pressure, but I think it tells a lot about you as a person as well. It's very nice.
Yes, you're right, because we sell the wine not only in France. France is the first market for Lagrange. It represents 23% of the sales, but 77% are sold all over the world. Last year, the négociant, because you know that Bordeaux chateaux, and especially the classified growth, sell to the négociant, and the négociant sell to in all over the world. Distributors, importers, and etc., etc. And last year they sold in Lagrange in 92 countries, and over more than 1,700 professional customers.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's quite a lot.
Which is good, eh?
500,000 bottles between Lagrange and Lefief were sold last year.
I think it's interesting to have some numbers indeed. People underestimate how many bottles are being made, and if you can say that many bottles for that quality, it's even more impressive.
Yes, I'm used to say that everywhere in the world you can produce a very good wine. The strength and the power of Bordeaux, especially on the left bank, is able to produce wonderful wine, but in huge quantity.
Yes.
Having 2,000 bottles of top quality wine, honestly,
that's not that hard.
Even in China you can do that.
Yeah.
You can have a beautiful land, beautiful terroir in China, and everywhere, not only in China. But producing 250,000 bottles of top quality, it's a little bit more difficult. And Bordeaux, for that, it's unique.
For sure. So Lagrange is part of the Suntory group?
It's one of the 302 company
Whoa.
of Suntory.
I didn't know it was so big.
Yes,
because I wanted to ask, tell me a few other big brands that are part of the Suntory group, but you don't need to tell 302.
Close to 40,000 people in the world are working for Suntory. It's a company which started by Shinjiro Tori in 1899, so almost 120 years ago. And it starts with spirits, beer, and a little bit wine. And then it grows. Now it's a little bit larger. But some famous brand they have, maybe you enjoy Japanese whiskey as Yamazaki, Ibiki. They have also some Scottish whiskey as Beaumont, Lafroig. They have soft drink too, as Orangina, Schweppes. But they have wines, Tomino Oka, which is a famous Japanese winery. They have Lagrange. They are shareholder at Château Bechevel. You know, I know that you visited Philippe, the general manager. They have also Château Beaumont, a part of Château Beaumont. They are involved also in a négociant of Bordeaux, Barrière Frères. And they have the Cognac Courvoisier. They have plenty of company.
And they have also, because I had a dinner last week, they have also Robert Wine. Yes.
Yeah, I told you already that I'm a wine lover of whites in Burgundy, but not only, also in Rhine-Ruhr Valley. And they have the famous Robert Weil wine route, which is
great wine.
For me one of the top Riesling in the world.
Yeah. It was the first time I've tasted it in a long time. Yeah, what did we pay for a bottle? I think 12, 13 euros for the basic Riesling.
Yes, the entry is at this price. Then it could reach several hundred euro with the special gold label and small ice wine and etc. But they have a full range, and honestly, in the full range, wines are totally crazy.
For the entry, it was amazing.
Yes, we are in touch with them, and we purchased some bottles.
Oh, for sure. It's lovely to have some dinners or lunches here, and then you can surprise your guests with
such a wine.
So what also is very intriguing for me at Lagrange is that Lagrange also focuses a lot on visitors, which I think is very important. So when people visit a place, it's not just, hey, have a look at the chateau, we give you a tour, a tasting, and that's it. No, people can have a lot of experience here. What can you tell a little bit more about that?
When I arrived 15 years ago, we had at that time 1,200 visitors a year. Nowadays, in a normal year, with the COVID, it was a little bit different, but we reach 8,000 visitors. And as you mentioned, we have plenty of program. Of
different
course,
kind of.
You can have just a tour and tasting, which is something that you have very common in a wine industry, but you can also have plenty of experience as lunch, has teppanyaki lunch, because we have a Japanese chef on the estate, which is something unique in Bordeaux, or in the chateau of course, and maybe in France you have maybe 1 or 2 or 3 teppanyaki.
I did my research, I didn't find anything.
1 or 2 in Paris, but it's
in
difficult.
Bordeaux, nothing.
So a nice experience in the chateau, of course, by sharing wines too. We have different type of tasting of tour. You can have a tour with the winemaker, with a specific tasting with explanation in bad vintages. You can have also a blending session, to learn how to blend the wines. What is interesting, what is the key point of the blend, something different compared to have a 100% Merlot, 100% Cabernet. So you taste different wines on each grape variety, on each different type of soil. Merlot on gravels, Merlot on clay, Cabernet on sand, Cabernet on gravels.
That's nice.
So you can feel the difference and make your own blend. Funny. You need times, it lasts 2 hours, 2 hours and a half, but if you want to have such experience, you can do. We have 14 rooms, so you can have a stay. It's not like an hotel, it's something like private, but we host some wine lovers, we host journalists, we host importers, distributors, sales force, we host club, enology club, and schools as well.
Yeah, you see the tourism level rising very, very quickly. Also, we will have some talk about the. So yeah, we talked about 2021 vintage. which was very interesting. For the upcoming months, if people are interested to come and visit Bordeaux in general,
don't miss Lagrange.
Yeah, I would say I would say visit Lagrange, but until when can people come and visit and taste the 2021 vintage? Just to have a taste and to think about, okay, I can purchase it, or I can purchase it en primeur.
So we have a small wine shop that if you come, you can buy a few bottles, especially bad vintages, because you know that for bad vintage, it's more interesting if you know the story of the bottle. We never offered the opportunity to taste the en primeur, but when we do the blend, finally you tasted some young wines, some vintage which is still in barrel. So it's usually the en primeur. We sell our wines through the négociant. The best way to come is send an email, have a phone call, book a visit, and then we can do almost everything. Okay. And if someone want to try the en primeur, why not? Yeah. Why not? We can do. But it's something a little bit special, even if nowadays, as I told you, the window of tasting of the en primeur, it's much more interesting compared to 20 years ago.
Yes.
It's something difficult when you are not used to that. Yeah. But you have also the opportunity to taste plenty of older vintage, even for the white, even for les Fiefs and Lagrange. So easy to come.
For sure. Yeah, so people can come.
Easy to join. Just have a meeting.
And ask very kindly, maybe you have the opportunity.
Yes, yes.
So now we were talking about primeur. So
the way we sell our wine in Bordeaux.
Yes, so everybody knows it.
Nowadays it's well known.
But now we have my type of generation, younger than 30 years old. People just entry the level of the wine world. They like wines, and they're like, okay, I want to invest more in wine to drink, a little bit more expensive wines, because I love wine. Then they are going to search, and of course they learn about the en primeur, which is nothing new. But a lot of them have no issue with it, but they are questioning why it's 2 years. And of course they do research, or they ask their wine merchant why it's 2 years. And they will probably say, look, it's very traditional, they do it for so many years. And that's the way they do it. And then they're like, okay, yeah, I don't want to pay this amount of money and get my wines in 2 years. I prefer to pay the 20% extra just for 2 or 3 bottles and taste then. So, and then that's their mindset. And especially with other wine regions. So you have Spain, you have Italy, you have Burgundy. They also work with Primeur. They also go more and more to Place du Bordeaux to sell. So
some of famous brands
for sure
are sold. But not only, but mainly by Bordeaux.
But they're doing it. They start doing it. So the Primeur works, but their period is just smaller. It's just 6 months, maybe. It depends. So that's why they're asking me sometimes, or in different group chats. And I try to defend Bordeaux, but it's very hard. Because they're right.
The story of the Primeur is quite long, and the beginning of the story was you can have the opportunity to taste the wine in its youth. You can purchase at the best price because it's sold en primeur before the wine is released, and for the customers it's a guarantee first to have the wine, because the demand is higher and higher, and to have the wine with the best price. It was the good point for the consumer. And for the chateaus, the good point was being able to sell your wine before the wine is released, so start to have some money to invest and to manage the new vintage to come. That was the story at the beginning. and still the story. Nowadays, we have, I would say, enough money to manage the year without selling en primeur, but we continue to sell in this way because first, it's a big focus on Bordeaux during 1 week in the world wine, because not only French wine, nowadays you have wine from everywhere, not only Bordeaux. So in a week you have all the wine distributors, the wine merchants from all over the world who focus on Bordeaux. It's a good point for us. And why en primeur continue to work is because if Bordeaux is fair, you can offer the wine with a good price, with a good value, and so it's a guarantee for the final consumer to have the wine with the fairest price. If you don't have the wine with the fairest price, and you can find the wine 3-4 years later at the same price, no way, it's not necessary to buy en primeur. And with such a result, primeur will fail for sure. But nowadays, for most of the Grand Cru classés, it works very well because you have this opportunity, you give this opportunity to the wine lovers from all over the world to find and to have the wine, to be sure to have them with the fairest price.
Okay. That makes sense. It's just, you have also the aftermarket nowadays. You have people that invested in wines 10 years ago, and then was the mentality, we buy 3 cases of 12, and then after a couple of years we sell 2 cases and 1 case is for free.
Exactly.
Which is just fine, but that is another mentality. People nowadays, even for myself, the Primeurs that I bought the first time when I started buying them, I tried to sell them piece by piece because I want to have more different wines. So I prefer to have 2 or 3 wines from every chateau, for example, than to have 1 or 2 cases of my favorites and that's it. And a lot of people think this way. And now you see a little bit, small, it's big. It's an inflation of vintages between, I don't know, between 11 and 17. And everybody's like, okay, there are so many wonderful wines nowadays. And they drop everything in auctions, secondhand places. They sell it to friends or whatever. And then the demand is very low and the offer is very high. So, and then they drop below market price because they want to have the money instead. So that's why I think there's a big issue coming.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting to discuss this subject.
Yes, yes. Mainly people found, the fact that the primeur is working very well in some countries and don't work in another countries because of history, mentality. For example, in China, the en primeur sales, they are not used to pay something that they couldn't have immediately. So it's funny, we sell much more release vintage in China compared to en primeur. But as you mentioned, people who realize, I would say since 2009, we had a big increasing of prices. Chinese market appeared, US market was one of the key markets at that time, and on a very good vintage, the demand grow very high. And people realize how the speculation could be interesting. So plenty of people start to invest because it's not only something that you can share, unfortunately, it's also something that you can invest as oil, as
yeah, you can profit out of it, yeah.
Diamond or everything,
for sure.
Gold. And nowadays, some people consider this is a real value and make profit and speculation with that. I purchase wine. I never sell wine. I have never sold wine because when I purchase wine that I'm sure quality is fine. The only way I would like to sell wine is because the wine is not good. It's not my philosophy, but I know that plenty of people made some profit in this way. And as you mentioned,
or trading. That's something that I prefer to trade. For example, I have one case of that. Do you want to trade for some? Yeah. It's something that I just see because we're the next generation. We talk about it in group chats, on social media, on Instagram. Matthieu, it's crazy sometimes. If I post something on my story, I think 10 people ask me, do you have one for sale? And I said, yeah, no. But if you see the crazy fluctuations of the market, for example, yeah, we can bleep it, but vintage 08, I buy 380 and the market price is 4,000 or 5,000. So for a person that invested in one bottle, it's going to be very hard to say no to sell. Because it's 4 or 5 months, you can live, you can pay your rent. It's crazy if you not do it. I won't do it because it's one of a kind bottle, but
such a speculation, such a profit, such a bottle, you have only less than 20 brand.
Yeah, for sure. That's very rare. But the same story for Burgundy in general.
Yes, and also some key chateaus or key estates with when the owner passed away, immediately you can have the price will rise and double in a week. Yeah. It's crazy. It's like that. Yeah. It's like that. But we don't have to forget that wine is for sharing and for drinking. And I'm used to say that, especially in my position, as I told you, we have 40,000 cases of red wine at Lagrange, 50,000 cases if the yield is good. If my wine is only stored for speculation, it could be a mess in few years.
Yes.
It needs to be drunk.
So that's why I think, if I can say my opinion of the Primeur, I think it's okay and I don't think it needs to go. But I think the market will adapt, and I think in the next 10 years, I think Bordeaux will be pushed to shorten it up, to have more control of their vintages. Because now you have 2 years in advance and you have actually no control because people already paid for something. So there's less of control, but we shall see. It's just an opinion. But I have some very passionate friends that they say their opinion, and yeah, they pour it in a group chat, and all of a sudden everybody's agreeing with him, and then it's very hard because they're all Bordeaux lovers. They buy en primeur every year for a very big amount, and then now due to COVID, they started to tasting other countries and other regions. And now they want to sell more of the Bordeaux, not to put away the Bordeaux. No, they just want to sell half, for example, to have more variety in their cellar. And they're like, oh yeah, I just paid my Primeur. Oh, that was a lot of money that I could ship somewhere else. And I was like, oh yeah, now you have 2 years, your money is on hold. So I think in the future it will change. I don't hope for it, but we shall see.
But with the social media, with the internet nowadays, it's so interesting how you can sell so rapidly the wine, and you can manage that and manage your own wine cellar in a very good way. But fortunately, I'm in touch also with plenty of consumers on a social media or by mail or during our wine tour, and there is a lot of wine lovers.
Yeah, for sure. Eventually, the bottle will reach the person that wants to drink it. Yeah. Eventually, and that's the most important. But yeah, we shall see what will happen. I know it's a very delicate subject, but I think it's one of the most important subjects that's waiting to rise and waiting to make a lot of noise. But we shall see what happens. I think you will be in Belgium in a couple of weeks, right?
Yes. Belgium is the second market for Les Fiefs, but for Lagrange is the fourth market last year after Japan and US.
That's good, because when I think we had a dinner 2 years ago, 1 month before the first official lockdown.
Exactly.
And then I shared it on social media and stuff like that. A lot of people were they were like, oh look, Yannick, you need to tell me next time because I really want to do I really want to taste Lagrange. And I see it in Belgium, Lagrange, Lefebvre. It has a big presence, very big presence.
I will be there in 3 weeks, beginning of March, for 3 dinners and meeting
You visit
customers
school?
and
You visit our school, small masterclass.
Masterclass, wine dinners. It's the opportunity to share philosophy, to share wines, of course, to understand more and explain more the way we work and just also to enjoy also.
For sure. I think we had enough of the boring stuff, of the primeur and a little bit more personal. So you're a winemaker at Lagrange. Outside of winemaking, do you have other hobbies? Do you have a family?
Of course, I have a family, and you know that I was born in Bordeaux, living in Bordeaux, studies in Bordeaux. I travel a lot for my job, but I have strong roots in the region. I love being on the seaside, fishing a lot.
I see.
Something that you can have forest. So
you love nature.
yes, since the beginning, you know, and the season of fishing, season of mushroom, season of harvest.
Yes, you like picking mushrooms. That's
Fishing
right.
mushroom too, because the idea is something that you can share with friends, share with family, and then it gives you an opportunity to organize lunch or dinner at home.
For sure.
And sharing nice food with nice wine.
Yeah.
That's one of the passion I have, and as you know, I like when the things are fair. That's the reason why I organize plenty of blind tasting.
Oh yes.
Because it's also one of the
you want to
passion
talk about
with
it?
friends.
Do you want to talk about it?
Oh, we could say a few words.
It's for fun.
Since it's funny because I was not the person who started Lagrange to do that, because it started 40 years ago. I was a young child at the time, but I did it at home before, and when I arrived at Lagrange, it gives me the opportunity to taste so beautiful wine from Bordeaux, mainly from Bordeaux, in a blind tasting. The goal was first a technical point to improve and increase the quality of our wines, to compare with our colleagues, and focus about what we can do to upgrade what we have done if the wine is a little bit lower level. It was a technical way of improvement for quality wine at Lagrange. And then after doing for 10 years with my team, I was really impressed about the quality of the wines they did already. So I decided to continue, but not only in intern, I try to do that with wine lovers. Yeah. And you did some. I did yesterday one, 2 days ago another one. Last week we did 89, we did 06, we did 04. Next week, I could say, because nobody will watch, we will do some 2013. It will be the first time we will do some 13.
Yes, okay.
We'll do some 2012 too. So it's really funny. So wine from Saint-Julien, from Pauillac, from left bank, right bank, blah, blah, blah. And so interesting. And it's the best way to judge if the wine perform, if the wine succeeded, if it's well balanced, and you find all the small difference, because most of the wines we have around the table are great.
Yes.
But by having side by side, it's very
for sure
discriminant.
And also a little bit to defend Matthieu, it's not because of the blind tasting and you see the result that the last wine is bad. It's not a bad wine. It's just
the less good on the average at the moment we taste with the guests.
Yeah, it's just because
it's like that.
Yeah, because a lot of people, they ask, oh, is that a bad wine? No, it's just at that preferable time with those people.
Yes.
just to defend you because
Yes. And you have and the tagline in the end is drink the wine and not the label.
for sure. Yeah,
Drink
for sure.
the wine.
For sure. I like blind tasting the most, of course, for obvious reasons. But nowadays, more and more, I tell friends, oh, we have a tasting soon, let's do it blind. So yeah, let's do it blind. What's the problem? It's fun.
It's fun.
It's fun.
And it's a school of humility. You don't need a professional. You taste, you feel, you enjoy. You have nothing to disturb you. Having a label, I don't know, having the year you like because it's the birth year or the year you met your wife. I don't know.
It's the most honest way of tasting
Exactly,
wine.
the most
for
fair.
Sure. Yeah.
Nothing interfere. Just your own taste and what you like.
I always look forward to have blind tastings, but also when I do it with you, I learn a lot, because you tell me, look, Yannick, do you smell that? Do you smell that? That it's that and that's that. So now I know after a few tastings, I know what that tastes like and
you taste good. You taste good, of course, but it's a very good way to improve yourself and to improve your knowledge.
For sure.
And by doing blind, you paid more attention on the wine. Because you focused, you try to find, you spend time on a glass.
I think I can ask it on the camera because it's nothing bad. no worries. But pretty soon I have something, because we already talked about it. But pretty soon I have in Netherlands. So it's above Belgium. We have something planned with two brothers or two business partners, and they have a chateau in Belgium, just a castle, nothing with wines, but they will host for us, so it's 20 people. We will drink one certain vintage, blind, 12 different wines.
Yeah, great.
All from the left bank.
Great.
You will never know what, so we all taste. I will invite a couple of critics from Netherlands and Belgium. I will invite a few sommeliers. I will invite a few big wine lovers that they love blind and they know not to criticize afterwards. And I was thinking of maybe 2 or 3 winemakers. And then afterwards we will have dinner.
I'm free.
But I know that you're up for the fun and for the experience.
Yes, for fun.
Sure. Yeah, I know you would like it.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, and then afterwards we will have dinner with other wines, also a blind, but that's the dinner part. That's more fun, but it's one certain vintage, and then we're going to speculate and we shall see. Yeah, but if you're up for it, it's nice.
Yes, because doing that on the same vintage and almost the same region, you can easily compare and you can understand what is the style of such chateaus, what is the style of such appellation, and you improve drastically your knowledge about the wine.
For sure.
And now it's funny because I'm doing that for more than 15 years now, and I don't know, at the time I found 90% of the time I found the wine and where the wine is located. We upgrade drastically the level of the team.
But for sure, that's why I think it's interesting. You have how can I call Benjamin? Is it your follow-up or is it your right hand?
Yes, it's the deputy manager, the technical manager. It's my right hand because I'm used to travel a lot. And he's the guy who manages the estate day by day, so we discuss almost every day, several hours. We share everything, and you can, yes, it's sort of.
But he knows a lot of well, and I see the knowledge comes from you. But he sometimes asks questions at the table, and I was like, I see mentoring.
Yes, he started at Lagrange as a trainee. He was only 23 years old. He graduated his engineering and enology school at Bordeaux. So, and the connection was immediately between both. And we are looking for at the time to hire some technical manager So he asked me
right off the bat.
Yes, and I say, okay, join the interview, and finally he succeeded, and he was hired, and he's working for 10 years now, close to 10 years.
But you have a great team in general.
And we are in a real confident. It's very necessary. And when the thing I like, I remember when I hired him as a trainee first. We spent 30 minutes in the vineyard, and immediately we discussed in the same way. We have the same vision and everything.
Oh, that's nice.
Wow.
That's good.
It reminds me when I start, but I was at that time 27, 30 years old. So, and he was only 23. I say, wow, this guy is good. So we will see. And
so when you started, did you have a mentor like him, for you as like him?
When I start work in a Bordeaux wine business, my first, the first guy who I met and I was very impressed was Eric Boissonneau. He's our enology consultant, and I have plenty of stories with him because he was used to work in some wineries when I was a trainee. When I started in Saint-Estèphe too, he was the enologist consultant. He's so good.
It's an idol for many people.
Yes, I'm not surprised that he is the most important wine consultant on the left bank.
Yeah, he knows.
His knowledge is so amazing.
Uncanny. Yeah.
I told him that several times that I would like to plug his brain with a stick, yes, and for 1 hour keep all the things I can. It was
it's so crazy.
I would say is the guys I follow the most, even if we are not totally agree all the time.
But that's not the
that's the thing I like with him, is that he's a consultant, so he advises and we discuss, but the final choice is the choice of the team. And so it was the first guy I met in 1996, and worked with him from 2000 to 2005. And when I arrived at Lagrange in 2006, I was working several months with Marcel Ducasse, the former general manager. I learned a lot with him, a lot. And when I did so many benchmark blind with the vintage he did, and the result is so good. So I have a very good relationship. He came last week and tasted the Primeurs at Lagrange. He's a very good friend, and he has a great knowledge. And it's always interesting to speak with him, because you always learn a lot. He spent 23 years at Lagrange, and he was at the beginning of the rebirth of the estate.
The one thing that I really like about wine is how it brings people together. When I brought the 98 Les Arômes, Jérôme was there, his son from, and then he told me that was the last vintage my father made the wine, or what, I don't know, remember what it was. So yeah, it's funny how he's like, oh, Yannick, very important bottle for me. And then for me, it's like, yeah, I just found it. I just went blind, and now I have personal conversations with Jérôme. So you learn new people and you get to know them through wine.
It makes the connection easier between people.
For sure.
People who like wine.
Yeah, for sure. I think when you visit in Belgium, you visit the school where I went. We shall see what we do there. And I think we had a fun podcast. We shall see what the people say. Maybe if they have some certain questions or stuff like that, they can tell us, and we can prepare another one another time. But I think we need to prepare for lunch. I don't know, but because we have a blind tasting. Yes.
There is a blind tasting too.
So we have to go. Very sorry.
Schedule something for lunch.
But thank you so much, Matthieu.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you all for watching and listening. First of all, if you want to visit the place, you know what to do. Just contact them. You're always welcome.
Easy.
If you have something to ask the chateau for whatever reasons, to visit or to one of your vintages that you have in your cellar to open, I don't know, don't hesitate. Thank you very much. Take care.
Bye-bye.